Why does the black man serve the white man? Why does everything the black man do benefit the white man? Why does the black man say freedom is doing what I want to do? And why is it that everything he wants to do enriches the European?
Welcome to the desert of the real.
The views and opinions of the hosts do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of the B.A.I.O., the Black African Infrastructure Organization.
If you notice, all the brothers that's in the B.A.I.O. basically got their own thing going on, like in one form or another. Either they got, decent jobs where they are making a decent salary, or they got their own businesses, or they, independent contractors. In other words, if we were to drop the whole nationhood thing, we could live a pretty good life here in America. But the people that's in that, category are the ones who seems to be fighting the hardest for nationhood. But then when you turn around and you got people who don't have a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out, ain't making no money, you know what I'm saying? Not in a good position financially for now or in the future. These are the ones that go the most hard body for staying here in America. So it's just a continuous source of frustration for me, and I'm just curious. Why is that? Why is that? Why is it that the people who don't benefit at all from America want to go hard body and attack people who talk about leaving America, and the people who actually are doing well in America want to get the hell out of it? Don't you find that strange? Don't you find that odd? But basically, you see where I'm going with this. Do for self, it only means, you can only know what it means depending upon who you're talking to. Now let's look at doing for self from a nationalist perspective. Let's break it down. Let's get specific with this. Do for self from a nationalist perspective means this. We're talking about the collective of our people. So let's just say, for the sake of our argument, we're talking about descendants of the transatlantic slave trade here in America. We'll just deal with America. That's where I am. What does do for self mean in the context of that if you're talking to me, a nationalist, or anybody else? Well, do for self means doing for every single aspect, everything that it requires to take care of a people. That's what we mean by doing for self. If you really want to know what it means, just look at your existence here in America. Now, in America, you can get on Facebook and you can be pro-black. You can be revolutionary. You can have the feds watching you and, everything that comes with all of that, that people love. But the reality is that you have to live somewhere. So where do you live? Do you live in an apartment? Do you live in a house? Or do you live on a bench out in the street? As a revolutionary, Black Power revolutionary, Black Power American, where do you live? Where do you lay your head down? Do you pay rent to anybody? Are you living off of somebody? That's another one. Because this is something, the dynamic that occurred back in the 90s. You have people who will put out all this rhetoric against the system, against white supremacist system and blah, 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 blah. And they'll take people to task for having jobs, take people to task for all of this stuff and engaging in this system. But yet, what they'll do is they'll have a person as a buffer who actually is in the system that they live off of. Like a lot of dudes and a lot of so-called scholars back in the days used to do this. What you have is you, as the Black Power American, you don't have a job. You selling books, CDs, tapes, oils, whatever the hell you sell. And your wife or your mate is working for corporate America. So she's the buffer. She can get the loans, pay the rent, do all this stuff, and you can play your little Black Power American thing using her as a buffer and hiding behind her. I know a lot of people don't know about that trick, but it's one that's going on. There's a lot of people that played it. A lot of people are pro-black, raising the fist. Oh, this system, and you got to do for self, and da-da-da-da-da. But they got somebody, a mate or somebody, or a family member that's serving as that buffer that's firmly involved in the system so that they're able to have food, clothing, and shelter. Now, what do you think that is? Is that keeping it real? Or is that being full of shit? Is that being disingenuous? I think it's being disingenuous, personally. Oh, let me open up the chat room. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me open up the chat. I'm very sorry. I totally forgot about it. But yeah. So we're talking about, that's an aside, what I just talked about. Now, also, do for self means on a practical level. Now, how do you take care of your people here in America? You got 44 million black people. What does do for self mean? Well, no. You know what? I'm not going to do that because that kind of conflicts with my thoughts on nationhood in general for the 44 million in here. Because like I always say, the vast majority of black folks in America are going to stay in America. There's only going to be a small percentage of black folks who go to the continent and establish the nation state. So I don't want to conflict with that. This is just basically a thought experiment, basically. When a nationalist talks about doing for self here in America, what they think about is the total socio-economic and political infrastructure of the land that they're living in. They're thinking about the land. They're talking about the land. They're talking about empowerment. They're talking about controlling the land so that you can control the policy on the land. They're talking about having a government so you can govern yourselves on the land. Now, here in America, do black folks have a government of their own? No. Do black folks have a land of their own? No. And even if you're claiming to be, from the Wasikta tribe and Native American, do you have land of your own here in America? Now, keep in mind, when I say of your own, we're talking about your people within the context of nation, of a nationalist. Do you have your own land here in America? Whether you say you came here, you was here first, and all that other BS, do you have land of your own as a people here in America? No, you do not. And I'm telling you, the tribes that do have land are the tribes that have, land set aside for their particular tribe, reservations. They're fighting hard body to keep your black ass out of the mix. So even if you were here first, the people that have the land don't think that you were here first. So that's a problem that you guys got to deal with, not us black nationalists or Africans, as we say. Now, what else does that mean? It means control of the roads, the highways, the tolls, the electricity. So all the electrical lines that's above ground and the electrical lines underground. The gas piping that's underground. All of that. The transportation. What's the transportation infrastructure? Who controls it? What's the irrigation system? What's the system that can convert your waste and stuff and separate the waste from the water that you can use? This is stuff we think about. See, the reason why I think that there's a schism is because of two factors. Two factors. One of them is who you're talking to, whether you're talking to a landlord or a tenant, or I should say a nationalist or an individualist. And the other factor is one wants to do work and the other doesn't. The other one is just lazy and wants to leave the responsibility of maintaining a society to their enemy. but at the same time want to claim that their enemy is the worst thing in the world, and, they're using the devil and this and all of these negative attributes to describe their enemy, but you trust your enemy with your drinking water. Does that make any sense on any planet? You trust your enemy with your drinking water. You trust your enemy with protecting you at night. You don't want your own defense. You want to live under your enemy's defense because you feel safe with your enemy protecting you. See, these are the reasons why black nationalists get so frustrated, like myself, and the reason why we're banging our heads against the wall wondering why are we doing what we're doing, because we only, luckily for us, we have a small group of ourselves that we can look to for fuel and gasoline, because if we try to go out here and espouse these ideas to the masses of people or to the people that are in direct contradiction to what we're doing and actually, being hostile toward us, we would quit. And a lot of us think about quitting, too, because we don't have a circle of people that we could be around to, help nourish us and help us move forward. So, that's the basic premise of what I'm talking about. It's like do for self means one thing to an individualist and another thing to a nationalist. So the question is, which one are you? When we have this discussion, are we talking about individualists or are we talking about the collective? And if we're talking about the collective, then why is the individualist even involved in the discussion, especially when they've made it, quote unquote? Basically, what I want to end it with is to just conclude this whole episode of Do for Self is this. We're nationalists. We at the B.A.I.O. are nationalists. We believe in doing from self from the perspective of looking after our people, descendants of the transatlantic slave trade, having a government, being able to control policy on a piece of land that we control from the top to the bottom. Now, if you are an individual and you're not about nationhood, because you can be an individualist and still be a nationalist. It's not like it's in conflict with each other, like Brother Thomas said. But if you believe in that and you're against nationhood, get out of our forums, don't listen to our Blog Talk Radio shows, stop commenting on our videos, and basically, in the words of the Spirit of Truth,
bitch, it ain't what you're thinking. It ain't a damn thing about what you're thinking. Fuck your thoughts.
Exactly.